I have what you want.
Get down!
Now make the call, Steve.
Let's get on with it.
Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Yeah, let's start this bitch.
Alright, hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentleman Fan Film Reviews. We are of course in History Month, which of course Geeky Gentleman History Month is the month in which we discuss the contributions the Geeky Gentlemen have made to history, but that have been ignored by biased educational system, except not at all. I am Sid Partu, joining me today is...
The Real Manos! Hello, folks!
Hello, the Real Manos. We've talked about this a lot, how on fan film reviews for History Month, it's really hard to find stuff that fits the bill. This one we're discussing today is called The Favor. It's a Captain America, and I guess it's fair to call it Captain America and Wolverine fan film. And it's about Wolverine owing Captain America a favor. And it's got a scene in World War II.
We'll take it.
Right? It makes the grade just barely, but that's okay. It's no reflection on the film itself that it doesn't have much to do with like historical accuracy. That's the reflection of me clicking through. I'm like, okay, yeah, here they are fighting Germans. This will be fine. Yeah,
You know,
that happened.
I have to say, finding films that are period films is a little more difficult than I imagined.
Yeah, it's a bitch.
If we do this again, I suggest we cheat and do older fan films. And though, you know what? This is exactly like 2001. Feels really authentic. This film made in 2001.
Yeah, that'd be funny. Anyway, so yes, Captain America: The Favor. Interestingly, I've not been able to find very many Captain America fan films, which is weird because by all accounts, it should be just as easy to make a Captain America fan film as it is to make a Batman fan film. You know, like, Batman's a really easy character that people gravitate toward for fan films, not just because of his popularity, but, like, he's a guy in a costume. It's just easier to do than Superman, because, like, if you want to make a Superman fan film, you either have to figure out a way to make it look like he's flying or have a Superman that doesn't fly. You have to have choices there. Captain America, much like Batman, he's just a dude, so if you can do fighting choreography, if you can get a decent costume, it shouldn't be that hard to make Captain America fan film. Yet I don't see a ton of them for some reason, or at least not a ton of really substantial quality.
That's a good point. It's not like he's not popular or anything. He's been very popular through the years with the comics, and the films have been really, like, huge. So you would think there'd be a little bit more material out there. And the only thing you really have to kind of worry about on a tight budget is, you know, throwing the shield and making that look good.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's like a really classic of Hollywood right there, is like, you might need 3 shields, but if you can afford that in the budget, you can get the classic, here's the shot of the guy throwing the thing, we quickly pan the camera and have another one right in front of the camera as if it's moving through the air, the one that he threw, and then here's the quick stop with the shield in someone's chest or hitting someone in the head or whatever. It's a classic cheap shot of Hollywood. You'll see that all the time when people are like throwing knives or whatever. This doesn't quite have that, though, almost. It's got like the beginning and the end of that, minus the in-between, which, you know, makes it feel a little awkward when we do see him throw the shield, because you don't have the travel as much. Whatever. So all that being said, this is thoroughly all right in a number of ways. I don't know if you perused their channel at all, Manos, but did you see that they released 2 versions of this?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, so like initially, one of my complaints, because I watched the one that came up first, right? One of my complaints was going to be, oh, yeah, it seems like you could have done something about this audio, because they clearly dubbed it all in, and there are scenes where it's just, I'm listening to it with headphones, so I shouldn't have any problem hearing anyone with dubbed audio. But, like, you get to the end, and I have no idea what the hell they say to the girl on the couch, or you get to, like, the scene with Cap and Logan in the bar, and I can hear, like, this immediate sense of, okay, the guy recording Wolverine's lines was in a different place than the guy recording Cap's lines. I'm almost sure of it, because he's got a completely different audio background noise when he's talking.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But then I watched or not all the way through, but I watched bits and pieces of the repost, which is slightly shorter, which is weird because I think it might have an additional shot or 2 in it. And they fixed issues like that. So that was, kudos to them on going back and cleaning it up. I just, it's unfortunate that the cleaner version isn't the more popular version of the fan film.
I don't know why they don't just delete the original version. I know they'd be deleting the more popular version, but the other one would be allowed to kind of build its audience with people looking for it.
Yeah, that's a really hard call to make for a lot of people, I feel. Like, I really hesitate. Even if my videos have a mistake in them, I hesitate to ever take them down and repost them unless I catch it, like, that day.
Yeah.
So I can certainly understand it, but I did want to give them kudos for, going back and cleaning it up. And given that they made a sequel to this, which I didn't want to watch because I didn't want it to color my perception of this fan film too much, that does lead to the sense of encouragement in improvement in the sequel that they made. I'd imagine, at least.
Yeah.
So there's stuff like that on a technical level that we could talk about. I also thought it was pretty well shot. The color looked really good, and I really liked the kind of like dreamy, really hyper saturated colors that they were doing when it was Cap and his fiance and all that stuff at the very beginning. I thought that was pretty good. But ultimately, I don't really dig much about the story or much about the performances of this fan film. This is one of those where it's like, it's got some good points on a technical level. It's got some stuff that it could have certainly done better. But, like, the story just feels ultra generic here. Like, and weirdly enough, generic in a way that Captain America's stories aren't. Like, I'm sure Cap's been through all the stuff with, like, his girl of the week getting kidnapped or anything, but, like, Cap's doesn't have a reliable Lois Lane type most of the time, He's kind of off on his own from time to time.
Yeah.
So to put him in the Lois Lane gets kidnapped kind of scenario is a bit of a weak choice.
I would agree with that. It is literally the least you could do with the story. 5 people wrote this script, by the way.
Oh, wow.
And it kind of reminds me of, I don't know, like if some TV show produced like footage for like, let's say within the TV show there's a popular superhero movie and they're showing clips of it. This would be that, without any real... Because every time you watch something like that, you go, oh, man, comic books aren't really like that. Oh, man, this character's not really like that. And yeah, it does feel, boy, man, like the girlfriend and getting kidnapped thing, it's not, and here's the thing, like, don't misunderstand me of really saying anything was really badly done. But like, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that is, the kind of the basics of like most any superhero thing I've ever read or seen in my life.
It's a filler issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really feels like that. It's like, okay, we're gonna have this artist or this writer stepping down, and another writer's gonna take over in a couple weeks, but we need some stuff to fill like 3 or 4 issues in between that time. So let's just get this up and comer who has been bugging us to let him write some issues. Let's just let him do something, but it can't be anything of substance. And so it feels like a filler issue, like it's just there to fill for a couple weeks. I don't know, like I like some of the ideas here. I think they're cute. I've always liked the idea that Cap and Wolverine were in the same unit in World War II. That's a fun one. I like retroactively putting Wolverine in the Howling Commandos.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cute.
The
I
Howling
like
Commandos. Ever since that X-Men issue way back with Chris Claremont and Jim Lee working on it, where Captain America and Wolverine are like fighting the Hand, and then it cuts back to the present. And I've been a sucker for Captain America and Wolverine during the World War II. That's always a good choice for me. I always like it, and it's handled fairly well. I always like the idea of him kind of having someone in the present in his own superhero community that he can relate to from those days. And and the way it's blended in the story is nicely done.
I mean, my favorite headcanon thing ever was that Wolverine and Captain America liberated Magneto's concentration camp. That's been my headcanon for the longest time, and I've always adored it. But I don't know, just shit like that, you can only get so far on it, right? Like, immediately when I saw Logan in the flashback to World War II, I was like, okay, awesome, that's cool. And I thought that was it. I thought it was just going to be a cameo. I did not realize that it was the whole story, that they served together in World War II, Cap saved his life, and now he's going to help him. I mean, like, what's the alternative here if you don't have the flashback, right? All right, so, like, the flashback never happened. Cap and Wolverine never served together. Cap goes to a bar and asks Wolverine to help him save his fiancée, and Wolverine's just like, no? Like, Wolverine's gonna say yes because it's Captain America. You don't really... Like, the fact that he's doing him a favor doesn't really serve anything. And so, like, I always... I never want to straight rewrite these, but I want to talk about this as a sense of what more could you have done with this? Well, they clearly indicate that there's some relationship between Wolverine and the Russian, and it's clearly possible that that relationship is delved into more in the sequel they made. I don't know. I'm just talking about the piece itself. But, like, what if there's some stakes to mutants in this that needs Wolverine to be called in for? Or what if there are stakes in mutants and Wolverine getting involved will actually hurt mutants, but he owes Captain America? These kinds of like choices, these kinds of things to flesh them out could really work, because honestly, your Captain America and your Wolverine are your best actors, so they need more screen time together to flesh out their characters more and just to make the fan film more watchable in general.
Yeah.
I could have sat with them at the bar for like 5 minutes, and not like
Right.
gotten bored.
That could have been the movie, actually. It's just
Right?
them talking. And maybe... I don't know. I agree. I hate rewriting when I discuss a film or a project, too. But, since it's a fan thing, and I'm a fan, too, so it's like, okay, let me talk to. I guess there's a couple things. Like, I initially thought the flashback would connect to whatever's going on in relation to this villain, the Russian.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe some piece, maybe they didn't get to finish something, and then it gets brought back into the present. But that kind of didn't pick up either.
Mm-hmm.
But I like your idea. It could have been the whole thing at the bar, maybe going back to like the flashback to World War II, and maybe that's the story, particularly in that we concentrate on, or maybe the situation in World War II and then we come back and it relates into what they're doing now. I don't know. It's just kind of the most basic thing you could think of. Like, it would be like, well, that's the first idea. Like, okay, I'm going to do this thing. Okay, that's what you do. That's what you think of first, and then you
that's your
develop
first
it.
draft. Yeah.
Yeah. It feels very first draft. Where then you go back and then you add, the layers and more depth and the plot twists and all that stuff.
And I want to be very clear about this. It's not that we're rewriting it because, we could have done it better. It's that, like, here are your opportunities to make connections and deepen the story. And this is all on a script level. Like, there's things you can talk about with these fan films where, like, you couldn't have known it was going to be like that and you would have to settle for this until you were there shooting it. There's just no, like, when you talk about these lower budget things, there's just no accounting for it. Sometimes stuff just happens and you just have to deal with it on the day.
Yeah.
But like this is what we're talking about here, deepening the connections or putting more of a plot that puts Wolverine in a compromising position by granting this favor, stuff like that, that's all there to be worked on in the script. That has nothing to do with the circumstances of filming. To me, you're already in the bar. If you have to spend 20, 30, 40 extra minutes shooting more dialogue or something, that's really a secondary concern. If that bar won't let you do it, go to a friend's basement that has a bar. Just stuff like that. There are options,
Yeah. The Birdemic method. Let's shoot outside and then shoot the restaurant part in my house.
Yeah. I mean, but fan films get away with that. You can get away with so much if you just have a white wall, right?
Yeah, exactly.
A white wall can get you so much mileage, and if you just my friend has a bar, and you just shoot it all from the back and have the actors cheat, look at each other as opposed to looking forward on the bar. There you go. There's your whole thing. So, that's not even necessarily a concern for them. They're already in a bar. Which, again, commendable stuff. I always... It's easy to overlook when you're talking about fan films, but getting location shooting's hard. So
yes.
Good on them.
The location of the bar actually is very nice. It's nice and atmospheric.
Looks like the place Wolverine would drink at. Yep. That it just works, And then there are other things I quite like. Some of the costuming's pretty good. Captain America never should have taken off the jacket. That is the opposite of a good thing, but Wolverine's leather jacket looks good. It's got the 3 stripes, which I always love. Cap in World War II looks absolutely fantastic. I loved it to death.
Yeah, that's hard to screw up. I mean, you kind of go with that World War II look and mix it with Captain America, and they do a really good job with that.
Yeah. So there's a lot that this does right. Location stuff. They picked, it's a big empty field with some trees in the background to have a World War II scene on. Great choice.
Yeah.
You literally cannot go wrong doing period era stuff in just an open field, because guess what? The world's changed a lot. Nature hasn't. So that's really, really smart stuff. And the costuming there looks really good. The props they use look, not perfect or anything, but they shoot them at such a distance that it really doesn't matter. It looks pretty decent.
Yeah, and I feel like if they had any kind of budgetary restrictions on what they could shoot or anything like that, I can't notice. I feel like they shot primarily what they wanted to shoot. They even have a couple of I don't know if they used stock footage of the city or they had a drone. It looks like stock footage they used.
I think it was stock.
But I thought it was fairly decently mixed in.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say it looks a little above what they could achieve, but not much. So, if they end up watching this and comment no, actually we did have a drone, then good on you. It integrated really well overall.
I think it was stock footage, and I think it was kind of decently blended in, because I've seen TV shows have that same level. You watch an episode of Charmed or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you have that kind of generic shot of San Francisco or something, and then you cut to whatever scene they're doing.
Yeah.
I think this is of that level. They kind of managed it well.
I'd say it's probably maybe a step under Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or like your network stuff. I'd say it's more on the level of like daytime. But
I would put it right on Charmed.
No, okay. On a scale of Charmed to Arrow, we're going Charmed.
Watch an average episode of Charmed, like especially in the later seasons. It's like some shot of like the Golden Gate Bridge or the Pyramid building, and then it's to Piper's bar or something like that. And like, okay, like it's almost Power Rangers level of transitioning.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So like stuff like that looks really good, and then there's moments from like you flew a little too close to the sun when you decided to have Captain America running all around without the jacket, because that just looks silly. It just didn't work. I don't know what it was. He starts to look overly skinny or something. The blue's a little too bright. It's just like a whole conglomeration of little issues that become a big issue.
Yeah.
And it just looks like, I love Cap with the helmet. Cap with the helmet and skin tight clothing starts to look weird. Like they're just, it breaks something. If you're gonna do like skin tight clothing Cap, then he needs to have more like the football helmet as opposed to like the World War II helmet or something. It just, these are basic design things I think we've run into with Captain America over the years, so it has an effect.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, like they do a pretty good job overall. Wolverine's claws look good. Even a lot of like the special effects integration, like I'm pretty sure the Tesseract was mainly a physical prop, but it had a really good look to it on the set,
I would agree with that. The Tesseract looked pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm. So stuff like that, I don't know. This is a bit of a mixed bag of a fan film, but to me, ultimately, its biggest problem isn't any of the technical stuff. Like, I could forgive the kind of goofy-looking Captain America shirt if it just had a better story, and it doesn't. That's where it really falls flat for me.
I would imagine so, yeah. I even like, I don't know. I even liked their Wolverine for the most part. Like he's not cut. And I don't know. There's kind of a nice kind of, I don't know. There's some about him that I kind of like appreciated. Really, I don't know. He's kind of my favorite part of the movie, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And he almost reminds me of Rousdower from a film called the Final Sacrifice, which is an MST3K film.
Mm-hmm.
And Rousdower, for those of you who haven't seen in this episode of MST3K, it's a Canadian sci-fi film, I think. And there's this character named Rousdower who I've always thought makes me think he's Wolverine, just without the cool superpowers. Without the healing factor, the animatium skeleton and claws. Is this what he'd be like? And he's really enduring, and I really like him. He's even got like the backstory. He drinks and smokes and gets in fights. He's got like He even has a relationship with the teenage kid, much like he does with Rogue in the first X-Men movie. Matter of fact, there's a scene in Final Sacrifice where the kid is hanging out and hiding in the back of his truck, and he's driving. He stops and goes and finds him, and it's like, Jesus, it's just like the scene in the original X-Men film. So I don't know. I kept thinking about Roundstar in this movie. It's like, oh man, I don't know. It made me like him more.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I like their Logan just fine. I thought his performance was all right. I thought Cap's was all right. Even the Russian is like a bit ridiculous and over the top, but it works. I wanted more Dugan or whatever his name is.
Dum Duggan, yeah.
Duggan, okay.
That mustache sold it.
Yeah, I mean, like I wanted more of him because he was super fun. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, just some more stuff with them would have made it a better fan film. I wasn't expecting Cap and Wolverine to be in the fan film together, so that was a fun surprise too. What are some other good things I can say about this? Makeup effects were really good. Like when they revealed the fiance that's been tortured or whatever, like they do like a whole bruised face thing, and I thought that looked pretty legit.
Yeah, that looked brutal.
Yeah, the Russian had a villainous eye scar,
Yeah.
clearly making him evil.
That's how you find, evil people, is that.
Yeah, I mean, like, I just like to imagine, like, there's a criminal trial. It's like, my client is misunderstood. He's got, like, a gigantic evil scar on his face. He's obviously guilty.
That's how you find evil people, because good people, when they get scarred, try and fix it.
Right.
Evil people have no idea how plastic surgery works.
Yeah, I mean, evil people just, like, they get the scar and they're like, oh, finally, I've arrived. Yeah, so I don't know, like the gnarly scar. It's super cliche. It looks fun. It works though. That's not an actual Marvel character. You're more into Marvel than I am. It's not an actual Marvel character, is it?
No, not that I could tell. If he is, they just kind of alluded to him, like the MCU or Agents of Shield method, where it's like, yeah, that's kind of the guy, and maybe we'll say that, maybe we'll say his name or something, but I didn't recognize him as a type of character. If they did, it was super subtle.
Yeah, fair enough. I was just wondering about that. So I don't know, shit like that. It's fine. The makeup, it just helps immersion a bit. Like I said, this has quite a bit of high points going for it, but enough low points from like, it could have been a lot better.
Yeah.
Just a couple stronger choices in the scripting phase could have made this a lot better.
True. Do you want to talk about the girlfriend, Evie, for a second?
Sure. I like her post-credits scene, even though it's a bit gratuitous.
It is gratuitous. She was actually, initially as I was watching it, was my first problem with the film. Because I was waiting, all these technical, like, story problems, not technical, all these story problems we're talking about and script problems we're talking about, I didn't really think about until we're at the end. That's one of those things where it's like, let me see where they're going. Oh, they went nowhere. Okay. This was the thing while I was watching it, was starting to have a problem with it, was that she's not really a character.
Mm-hmm. She's Cap's girlfriend. The end.
She's a prop in a plot device, and that's it. I mean, she's the most standard girlfriend archetype character you could imagine. She is the girlfriend that would end up in the refrigerator. She is, she gets dragged behind Cap. Like, she's so stupid, she doesn't think to run on her own. She needs Cap to, like, take her. Like, I think she was going to go back and get her bag.
Yeah, at one point I think she was about to do that, yeah.
Like,
yeah,
are you kidding? Yeah, that was really bad. And then she kind of doesn't really have any real dialogue to kind of get into her character. Like, who is this person?
Like, you get that scene with Wolverine at the end where he's like, I told him he didn't need to call me in. You probably could have taken the Russian by yourself. With 2 arms tied behind my back? No, I don't believe you have that kind of relationship with Wolverine. No, fucking Rogue doesn't have that kind of relationship with Wolverine. The hell you do.
Yeah, no kidding. So yeah, there was... I think she was my biggest fault with the script, essentially, because all these things we were talking about, I guess my biggest problem is it's, so generic, which in and of itself isn't, the worst. But, this particular part of the script, I think, was the thing that really glared out at me.
Yeah, and then, like, I don't know. I don't really think much of the post-credits scene besides gratuity, but, like, I could forgive that if I liked the character more. If I could believe that was the character. Like, Cap's such a straight-laced guy, and then he somehow or other ends up with this girl who's kind of dirty. Like, yeah, that could be a fun dynamic or something. I just don't believe it's there from the initial writing. I feel like that's just a cheap gag they wanted to throw in or something.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, maybe they were having a good time on the set and they joked about doing that and they just decided, hey, let's film it. I don't know, but just the way it comes off is just, it's just cheap. It's just a little gratuitous.
Yeah. Like, she's a prop to be won at the end, and that's the prize.
Yeah, that's kind of what I like. It's very easy to not fall into that. All you have to do is make me believe the relationship is more than just motivation for the story. You know, that's all you have to do is round out the character at all.
Exactly.
And stuff like that suddenly goes from being gratuitous to becoming endearing.
That's the thing about this kind of stuff is if you can make me believe this is a person who people care about, who have these layers and do these things and hold maybe have a universe in and of themselves, you can do the most generic plot lines with them in the world, and I'll stick with you.
Mm-hmm. Like you could almost do a fan film that's like that. Like that's intentionally the most generic thing in the world, but because we're so invested in the characters, it just works.
Yeah.
Like you could really get away with moves like that, and it just kind of goes to the strength of good character writing.
That's true. I mean, that's one of the things why I am such a strong character person in my writing and in my fandom. Is look, there's only like so many stories. Mm-hmm. So like a character will get me through. Like any random Bob's Burgers episode, they have occasional plots that like, oh, I've seen this plot before, but I don't care because those characters will take me through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like everyone likes to go the whole, oh, Simpsons did it. Yeah, but look at our characters dealing with it. It makes it better.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that about does it for this one. Let's go ahead and go on to ratings, shall we? Why don't you go first, Manos?
Okay. Yeah, like we were just kind of discussing, I have some misgivings here and there, mostly with the script, mostly with the Evie character. It felt like a kind of first draft in some parts and not in other parts. The film technically is really nice, and I do like the actors, not to mention the makeup effects and the Tesseract props really cool. So yeah, I'm really kind of iffy here and there, so I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 fake mustaches.
Nice. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Like, I'm tempted to go slightly lower, but I think there's enough here that does work as it's supposed to, that I'm willing to give it the credit, and give it a 3 out of 5 favors.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Everyone, thank you for joining us for Geeky Gentleman History Month. I believe this will be the last episode of History Month, so that was it was a grand old time. Oh man, we could have looked up Flintstones fan films. I bet that's a thing. Shit.
Oh, I don't know, man. This ain't like 1960.
Oh.
But...
Anyway, so everyone, thanks for that. We'll be transitioning to holiday month for the month of December, and there might end up being 1 or 2 episodes that just don't have anything to do with holidays, just because I got one more video with Steve, and Manos and I are planning something. I don't really want to wait to release it, so we'll see what happens with that. But anyway, Manos, for the first holiday-themed fan film, what will we be discussing?
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas with Jason Xmas. Have a bloody Christmas, motherfuckers.
Should be a grand old time. Everyone, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I'm the Realist.
And we are your Geeky Gentlemen. And we will be discussing things.